Beginning of this year, my job ended and I have been unemployed for roughly 8 months. So hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's really exciting to have you here. My name is Carina, darling. I am the face behind this vlog. I love to talk about everything wellness, so I tend to talk more on financial wellness, self-care, because those are areas that I'm very passionate about. So today we will be talking about cash. Is it worth having my cash in the bank? What is the value of cash? And in this economy, is it priceless? Cash has always been priceless. Everyone knows that. It's good to have accumulation of money in the form of cash. Today I'm here to tell you that as much as my views haven't changed in terms of the value of investments are still very much the best way to grow your wealth, and investments comes in different shapes and forms. So property investment, brick and mortar, which is what it's called, is one of the best ways to invest your money. So am I going to take back my statement on not keeping all your money in the bank? The truth of the matter is no. I believe that you should invest. I believe a certain amount should be kept for emergency, which I did touch on. I believe emergency money is so important. It's not if you will need it, is when you will need it, because you will need it. And I'm an example of that. Beginning of this year, my job ended and I have been unemployed for roughly 8 months. So I can see the benefit of having emergency fund. It wasn't that I didn't know my job was going to come to an end. I did know I had an end date, but my assumption was that I was going to go back to work much earlier. But then when I took my time off, I realized that I was really drained and I needed to take more time to recoup and recover. And that extended time I took meant that there was a strain in our finances, and where one does not save up for the rainy day, then you will probably start panicking in that instance. And so us having some funds kept in emergency, some funds put into investment really did help us, because we moved from a 2-income household to a 1-income household. So having an emergency pot really does help in this instance. And sometimes there are external factors that make you go into your emergency funds, even if it's not a loss of job. It could be so many other things. It could also be families. It could be your extended family needing your support during that time. So it's quite important to have an emergency pot. Sometimes the question is, how much do I need to keep in my emergency pot? And that's a very good question, especially in this economy where cash is king. Having a big pot perhaps of cash might be a very good idea, which it is. However, I think for emergency pot, you need to look at your family situation. In my situation, we had quite a reasonable amount of emergency pot. So emergency pot is not something that you constantly put money in. The good thing is that you don't have to take money out, because it is an emergency pot. If you're unemployed, you go in there. If there's a bereavement, if there's a sickness, but every other thing you should have a budget for. So there should be money budgeted for various things. But whatever be the case, the advice here is to definitely have an emergency pot, because I have seen the benefit of it, and now I'm thinking about how do I expand my emergency pot. What more do you need cash for, you may ask? And that question is very relevant during this time. Do I keep a bigger pot of cash? Sometimes it could be a good idea to do that. I would suggest that even outside your emergency pot, I know I mentioned in my previous video this particular point, outside your emergency pot, especially in this time that we're in, you have to remember, when I made that video, we were in a different time. Interest rates were not going up, and therefore your cash in the bank was not really giving you much money. So my advice was go and invest that money. You make more returns. You still do. When you look at statistics from the Great Depression and all the times the financial market has crashed and come back up until COVID, and now you see that over time, investments done through stocks and shares and property tend to make more money for you than your cash in the bank. And that's for the obvious reason that we all know: inflation. Inflation is really high right now. And so therefore, your cash in the bank is really losing value. Having said that, cash in the bank now as interest rates are going up is much higher. The assumption is that the banks are going to increase the rate at which you put your money in savings account, and then you can have things like a fixed income savings, and that is money that you put away for a certain period of time. You don't touch it, you earn a certain amount of income. Those type of savings account, I would recommend you put your money into those sort of accounts because they grow over a period of time. So the final point I want to talk about today on cash and talking about whether cash is still important in today's world is investment, actually. So we've talked about properties, we've talked about emergency funds where you need cash. I want us to basically talk about stocks and shares. Why is it important to have cash? So my idea of investment is a long-term investment strategy. So it's not something I take my lump money. If I have, say I have 3,000 to spare, I go into the market today and I buy 3,000 worth of shares. I think on a personal level, I don't do that. And the reason I don't do that is I like to invest over a longer period of time. So look at it as this. I set up a direct debit. The money goes out every month from my account and I invest in various shares and stocks. So the question is, if I have a lump sum money that I have received this windfall of cash, what do? Do I just literally throw it into my investment stocks and shares? My answer is no, actually. This is my personal view. It's no advice to you. I'm not telling you what to do. But on a personal level, what I would do is I'll spread it out over a period of time. So let's say 5,000 I have as spare. I would set that up in a way that every month I invest a certain amount of that money over a longer period. So the aim is that when the market is high, you pick it up. When the market is medium, you pick it up. And for those moments where the market slumps and share and stocks are cheap, you also benefit from that. So you don't want to buy when it's high, you want to buy usually when it's low. And for every type of investment, that's the aim. So that's it today. So I've touched on what you can do with your cash. I look forward to seeing you in my next video. In the meantime, have a lovely weekend and I wish you all the best. Take care. Bye now.